Did you ever wonder what it was that caused the disciples to leave everything and follow Christ? He would come along and say something along the lines of, "Follow me and I will make you fishers of men." And they would drop everything and follow him. Dietrich Bonhoeffer has a quote when he's discussing the calling of Matthew away from the tax collector's table. He says it's interesting that the author is ruthlessly silent about what it is that makes the disciples get up and follow Jesus. They just do it. It's the strength of his character. It's his personality. It's his conviction. And they, in his eyes, and even if they have very little previous experience with Christ, they are willing to leave all and follow him. Some of the followers were followers of John the Baptist, and when they see Jesus crowds, Jesus disciples growing, they leave John the Baptist and begin to follow Jesus. And people begin to complain, "John, this is not the way to sell a ministry." And John says, "He must increase and I must decrease." But look at the people Jesus is picking, right? There's a tax collector and a zealot on the same team. So a tax collector is pro-Rome, working for Rome to make riches for himself. And the zealot is trying to do everything he can to foment insurrection, to throw off the Roman Empire, and to be an independent nation again. So they're on the same team. How's that going to work out? And then you have James and John described not only as the sons of Zebedee, but as the sons of thunder. Sounds like there's a family line of anger and hot-headedness. And how will that work out when you're putting them in a group where you're trying to together accomplish a cause? And then you mix in people who have doubts, people who, when push comes to shove, might deny Christ, or worse, Judas Iscariot. In every list of the disciples and their names, he is described as the one who betrayed Jesus. So what a team Jesus is putting together to change the world. But they did. So let's look at them real quick. There is the inner circle, that's Peter, James, and John. Peter is also Simon, the son of Jonah. James and John, we've already said, are the sons of Zebedee, or the sons of thunder. So when Jesus is doing something where he wants to make sure that his inner circle of disciples that he's working with will see, like the transfiguration, he takes them along. He takes them along to pray with him into the deeper reaches of the Garden of Gethsemane. So Peter, James, and John are his inner circle of disciples. And then here are the other ones. We have Andrew, who is in Greek referred to as the protokletos, which means he is the first called. He is the brother of Peter. And then we have Philip, who brought Nathanael to Jesus, so we have Nathanael. And then we have Matthew, the tax collector, Thomas, doubting Thomas, also called the twin, so he may have had a twin brother as well. And then there is James, the son of Alphaeus, also the brother of Matthew. We have Thaddeus, or Jude, the author of the book of Jude. We have Simon the Zealot. There's our insurrectionist. And then Judas Iscariot, the one at the end of the list. So what do you think of those disciples? We're going to talk a little bit more about them in another video and what became of them. But let's talk a little bit about what it meant to day by day be a disciple of Christ. Jesus was a peripatetic rabbi, which means he walked around and the disciples would follow, and he would teach and they would listen and record in their memory. Jesus would apparently teach things over and over again till they got it, and they would not only learn, but they could ask questions. And so in following him around, they were discipled. They were also men who served Christ. So when he needs a donkey, or when he needs the upper room prepared, or when he needs to pay the temple tax, it is the disciples who take care of that. Then there is the service that they do as a result of what the rabbi wants to do in the community. So he will send them out by twos to towns and villages of Israel to help prepare the way for the coming of Christ. So the service of the rabbi and service to the rabbi were part of the daily experience of discipleship. Then fellowship. So they walk around and they talk to each other, and you can often see the disciples going, "What did he mean by that?" And then they will talk about who is greatest and such. It's part of that fellowship of following Christ, which also includes, by the way, failure and restoration. When you follow Christ, there will be times of failure and times when he desires to restore. Think about Peter. Denying Christ 3 times and yet being restored to a place of leadership hardly weeks after that failure. So think about working with people who have failed, who have been forgiven, and it's a part of that experience of discipleship. They will all be called finally to witness to the greatness of Christ, witness to his resurrection, and following his words by way of commissioning to go into all the world and to preach the gospel to every creature. So imagine what that walk would have been like, and would you put yourself in those shoes to follow Christ's example so that you too might become more like him?